there was a report today. Not a report. I don't know what you want to call it, Paul, but there's, it was innuendo that if Paul George opts back into his contract to do a sign-in trade, that the Rockets could be one of the teams that would be in on Paul George.
Yeah, this is where we hear it from, I guess, hoopshype.com. Quote, George could also have a larger market than only teams with cap space this summer. Theoretically, George could opt into his contract and be traded with the understanding he'd work out a new deal elsewhere, which would open up possibilities for teams like the Kings, Heat, Rockets, Mavericks, and others looking to acquire another star to fortify their championship contending chances going into next season.
I mean, so it's not a report that like he's interested. Like we have a legit report today coming out of Orlando that there is mutual interest between Klay Thompson and the Orlando Magic. Like there's actually something to that one. This is more just speculation connecting the Rockets. Young team needs a star player. Paul George might be that guy, but he does love Jalen Green. Like those podcasts that he was doing, the way he talked about last year, he was the one that told Jalen Green, like, this is your team. Don't bring back James Harden because he's not going to work well with you. He's talked glowingly about Alperen Şengün before. So, like, I kind of put, like, not full credence into this, but some belief that Paul George would make sense for the Rockets potentially.
Pass. He's boring.
Yeah?
Look,
he's 34.
If you're going to go get a star, I mean, sign the guy. If you're going to do a sign and trade here, what are you going to have to give up to get him? I'd assume you'd have to give up something. I don't know that they would have as much leverage if it's a sign and trade kind of situation, but they're going to have to give up, I would imagine, something along the way to do it. And yeah, I'm sorry. Paul George is on a team with 3 other really good players. Even if Kawhi Leonard's not playing, 2 other good players, and they're once again out in the first round.
Yeah, Sean, what do you think?
It's like an option, I would say, because they've done the opt-in and trade before with the Clippers. That's how the Rockets got Chris Paul with no cap space. So I think that's more of the report. Like the actual report was basically, hey, I know there's only 2 teams that are good with cap space, the Sixers and the Magic, but there's other teams without cap space that it's possible he could find his way on. And yeah, I mean, he wouldn't be at like the top of the list. I'm not, pray for Paul. Well, I am praying for Paul, but a different one.
Thank you.
Pray for PG. No. This is tough. Pray for Podcast P.
Well, I got a podcast.
That is true. Are you sure you don't want Paul George? Or are you saying this town's only big enough for one?
There's only room for one PG here. Right? So.
Yeah.
It really does work.
The pasty one. This is my town.
You don't think he would come on our show?
I am Montrose.
Hey, Paul George. Hey, Paul George. It's Paul and George. You want to come on our show?
Oh, yeah, it is. The show is Paul George.
It's the Paul George show.
We
could just sit right here.
We should rename it on the podcast app, the Paul George Show.
That's not a terrible idea.
Just to juice the numbers.
Just change the picture that we have for our podcast, which I believe is still me.
It won't change. I've tried like 15 different times. It won't change on Apple.
We'll change.
I don't know why.
I mean, I do look awesome in that picture, so it's fine.
It says Gallant George, just Paul. I'm like,
listen,
Paul's a beautiful man.
Our gay friends are listening to the show because of the picture on that podcast. But if we put Paul George there, that would really blow up. It's the Paul George show.
Yeah, but I mean,
we should do that. I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah,
but I don't want this. I don't want him in this town.
All this is about numbies.
This is my town.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed. I mean, you think that the Rockets are theoretically and expected to be in on these kind of veteran star players that are, can add some oomph to this team, so you're not depending on only 22 and 23-year-olds. But I wouldn't be too keen on giving, if it could be a Dylan Brooks to make the money work, and I don't know, Jayshawn Tate to also make the money work, and one of the, like Tari Eason types. That's not insane. Jabari Smith or Tari Eason. Like, that's not an insane trade to make. It's just that you would need Paul George to be like, I am only going to the Rockets.
What if it was Fred VanVleet? Because his contract's $40 million. It's going to be the easiest to match. Just in general, like when we talk about these sign-in trades or big trades, the easiest contract to match is going to be Fred VanVleet. So the question is, do you believe in Amen Thompson after 1 year to be your lead point guard next season and move on from Fred?
That to me is that's the sticking point. If you're trading Fred VanVleet for a guy who can handle the ball a little bit more, so like Donovan Mitchell, just another guy who's also been in these kind of rumors. That would make more sense to me because so let's just say you trade for Paul George, Fred VanVleet's the main part of the deal. So now you're starting Jalen Green, Jalen Green, Paul George, Dylan Brooks, and Jabari Smith and Şengün. You don't really have a point guard, and like we saw with the Phoenix Suns, it's like you kind of do need a point guard, or not even like a point. You don't need John Stockton out there, but you need a guy who can run the offense, who isn't just trying to get his own shot primarily. Someone who is again trying to run the offense, even if it's like a James or LeBron James type, where he's setting up other guys, even though he has the ball a lot. With Paul George, that if you're trading Fred VanVleet for Paul George, you kind of lose that, or you're asking Amen Thompson to do a lot in year 2.
Pat Riley kind of poo-pooed the idea that Jimmy Butler could be available.
He's poo-pooing a lot.
He also kind of poo-pooed Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, he just roasted his ass.
Yeah. Which I love. That, you know what? Heat culture.
Heat culture does work.
He
kind of does.
He said to Jimmy Butler what a lot of Astros fans want to say to Lance McCullers. Which is basically like, don't talk trash when you're not playing.
But what if Tom Ball's own Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, that's true. He's not from Houston.
He's not from Houston.
He refuses to be from Houston, but he is from Houston.
But like Zach Lowe has insinuated that the Rockets could be a Jimmy Butler point target.
Please, I would love that.
Like that to me is where like buy Dylan Brooks, and you have Fred, Jalen Green.
Why do you want to get rid of Dylan Brooks so badly, dude? Come on.
Well, that one of those guys has to be traded.
You're so racist against Canadians just because of their beady little eyes and flappy heads. You know, they're syrup chugging.
Yeah.
You're so racist. It's insane. Like, what does Dylan Brooks have to do to convince you that he's about that life? Like, how have you not fallen in love with him with all of those stare downs at nothing that he has before every single game? Like, the eye of the tiger, it's just constantly ablaze in his eyes, and you just want to get rid of this honestly underpaid man.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think honestly, you know, the kind of intimidation that he brings to a court, that's at least worth $25 million a year. And the Rockets got him for the cheap price of $20. Why do you hate Dylan Brooks so much, though? You know, I want Dylan Brooks and Jimmy Butler. I want to have the most hated team that there is.
There would be 100% a punch thrown in practice if
Good.
Jimmy Butler and Dylan Brooks were on the same team.
Good.
Like they would open up their brand new practice facility, and within minutes, one of them is getting punched in the face. AKA Dylan's getting punched in the face.
Hardened fists.
It's true.
It's the new iron sharpening iron.
Just fist, iron fist.
I mean, the Warriors maybe would argue against that, given
their whole team fell
the
apart.
Draymond and Jordan Poole thing or whatever. They
haven't been the same since.
But that was a team that had already reached its apex, you know?
That's
For
true.
a team that hasn't reached the apex, little fight might help. Maybe someone needs to just sucker punch Alex Bregman in the face. I'm sarcastically suggesting this, but like something needs to liven these guys up. Something has to happen in that clubhouse to get these people alive again. My God.
Joe, do you remember the Chicago Bulls fight and practice with Bobby Portis and Nikola Mirotic?
Oh, didn't he like choke him out? Or he tried?
No,
Or
he punched him and broke his jaw.
That's right.
He missed like 2 months of the season.
They really turned the Bulls around right then.
And Nikola Mirotic played out his contract and then went back to Europe.
Yeah. Said, see ya.
You know what? I'm good. If this is what time y'all are on, I'm out.
Should someone go O'Doyle rules on Josh Hader's locker? Just stuff a bunch of sheep turd in there?
Just do anything.
Doyle rules! And then he opens it up and it falls all on him. Something needs to happen.
I don't know what they need to do
on that front.
Like maybe they should, maybe shave his head. said, "Hey, hair's got to go."
That is the sign of a crazy person, generally. Remember when Britney Spears did that?
Yeah.
Britney apparently maybe needs the conservatorship.
She just won. She won her trial right to get rid of it, and then within like 3 days, TMZ was like, "Oh, things are going bad."
Yeah, she's
For Britney.
apparently going bankrupt, and she twisted her ankle and says she's
Yeah.
moving to Boston.
What's wrong with Boston?
I don't think celebrities move to Boston and announce it
No.
when they're on the upswing, if you will.
Oh, so you think that means she's moving to Southie?
Southie's the part of town that's supposedly the toughest, but it's gotten real bougie. So
Oh.
that's now, as they call them in the town. That's where all the toonies live.
Is that like the
Lace curtain.
Is that like
Place couldn't eat mother bleepers. Yeah, is that like what?
Is that like Boston's version of Austin? Southie?
Southie, no. Southie used to be hard, and then it got like most places, gentrified. Yeah, got a little gentrified.
All
Pushing
right.
all those scally cap like 5'8" people to other parts of town.